Ever wondered how local politics shapes your everyday life? We the People Town Square helps you discover who's shaping your neighborhood and how decisions are made. We simplify the complex world of local politics and empower you with the knowledge you need to become a force for change. Join us in building a more informed community, one neighborhood at a time.
Hello, this is Dan Rogers on We the People Town Square, live with Mayor Cole Stanley. Cole, welcome.
Good afternoon, sir. Good to be back.
Let's tell the people on We the People what the mayor's been up to lately and some of the issues that you want to address the people with.
I would say everything all at once, doesn't even come in waves, just like one tsunami of everything is what it feels like. So,
It's a tidal wave.
Was the best of times, was the worst of times kind of way to say it. So, could go down the road of showing and telling you about some of our biggest victories and things that we are super proud of. And then also talk to you about some things that we didn't expect that we weren't prepared for this one or this thing has grown and kind of taken a life of its own.
Well, let's start off by telling what the good things that you've accomplished since you've been elected.
I'll tell you, I have a to-do list. I have a mayoral task sheet where I just keep putting things on. And I have looked back. It's up to 4 pages now. It's typed, and there's a red C next to the things that are complete. And there's at least 20 things still left on that, but I bet you there's 80 items on that task sheet that we've gotten done. And it's everything from when we got elected, we took the velvet ropes down. When we got elected, we restored public comment. And so you were able to come in and talk to your elected representatives based on what your needs are, not based on what we told you we would allow you to talk to us about. And you remember those. Mm-hmm. And then it's all the way pushed forward to most recently, we have just presided over the best budget that we've seen in decades. And so council's priority has been public safety. You can see the trend in our society. You can see the world. You see everything from drug addiction, mental illness, open borders with unknown amounts of non-citizens that you don't know whether the truth is that Trump is accurate, that these are criminals that have been released from a prison, or if these are just good people that are looking for jobs. I mean, you have everything in the world coming on you in public safety, and so our police department has approximately 300 and I think it's probably 360 positions. And we are 37 short in our officers, our badged personnel. So the number one thing that we've done that I'm proud of is we put a $10,000 pay increase in the pocket of every single first responder, be it under the city of police and fire. And so that cost us, I want to say for those two together, a little over $10 million. And so when we first started talking about the budget, our CFO said, Mayor, you got $6 million. This is what the increases will be. Your one initiative on public safety will cost you twice that. And so this council went through, when we sat down at the council meeting, CFO came in with a few directives from council. Hey, look at this, look at that, look at this, pull these things together. And said, Mayor and council, you have $16 million to work with. And so we said at council, let's be aggressive. Let's work this budget and let's put these other ideas to paper. When we got done after 4 days, we had identified $29 million. And so we were able to fully fund all the pay raises. Also for, your other local heroes, they haul your trash and they come out and they fix that water main break at 2 a.m. when it's 10 degrees outside so you can take a hot shower. We gave 2% raises to the rest of our staff, but we also put in a 2% merit raise, which I think is really important. Being a small business guy, you want to reward those that work hard and earn it, and you can't just blanket everything. So all of that, to just hit on a few highlights, we ended up with roughly $6 million after we met all the needs of let's increase trash service here, let's get these additional pieces of equipment, let's fund streets, let's go fix all these potholes and get these street maintenance projects going. We went through Parks and Rec. We funded $1 million for a women's health clinic. We turn out in the Panhandle, unfortunately, some of the worst birth statistics that we have. So prenatal care, postpartum, post-birth, some of the other things that we just have in transportation, getting women that we would call indigent or don't have transportation to and from the doctor while they're pregnant can be a difficulty. And then you're taking that same female into a hospital setting where maybe they didn't have the appropriate care. They didn't know their sonogram. They didn't get a sonogram. They didn't know what month they were in. So that $1 million that we're pushing into our public health authority will greatly reach a section of our population that statistically we don't serve. So we couldn't be more proud of the budget. And really it might be the best thing we've done next to hiring a new city manager so far.
I just have a question. It just occurred to me. So if somebody lives on a street, but they live within the city limits, then they're going to get city health benefits. But if they live on the other side of the street outside the city limits, they don't.
So your question would be,
I guess what I'm saying is, wouldn't that be a county issue, not a city issue?
Well, as you know, the city of Amarillo resides in 2 counties. So you're either Randall or Potter, and so you have the benefit of both counties. Plus you have the city services. So our city service here for public health serves, both counties as well as the city, much like our environmental health serves outside of the city limits as well. So if you're a citizen inside of the city limits, you're able to get this additional help. But if you're a citizen in Potter or Randall County, I'm not aware of a single case that anybody has said, you don't reside inside the city limits, you're not able to come in. So I don't think that we draw that distinction.
So the city taxpayers of Amarillo will be paying for the health benefits of people in rural Randall.
Well, we have the benefits of individuals that are within our community. And so you understand that doesn't constitute any kind of residence. So I have a homeless population that doesn't have a residence, and obviously.
So somebody's driving from Oklahoma City to Albuquerque.
I understand
they could stop in Amarillo and get health.
If we were able to help them, we would help them because we're not limited to an individual cost. We're limited to the overall cost of care in that facility. So it doesn't cost us $1 more or $1 less every year to provide a service. Primarily, that entire facility is functioned through grant funds. So it's all grant funded, and that would mean state and federal. So your tax dollars don't pay for any of that care for inside, outside of city limits, either way.
Except our federal tax and state tax.
Well, and your tax dollars are all of those tax dollars. So when I say your tax dollars, let me say your property tax dollars, your sales tax. So this particular instance of this women's clinic that we're putting in, that's $1 million of our property tax dollars going to help that cause. And then from there, we will fund that in the future with federal aid. So you'll apply for grants that we'll then be able to get and keep.
But if you're using federal grants, the federal government is printing the money, which creates inflation, which pushes up property prices, which bureaucrats assess, and your taxes go up. So it can affect your property tax amount.
So in the way in which you have federal grants that are applied for, we apply for all of them that we qualify for. Those monies are distributed through the state and local. And then, yes, sir, I agree with you. Those are your tax dollars. Potentially, if we had a system in which the government, still needed to collect your tax dollars in order to run a budget. However, they're telling you that they don't. Otherwise, you wouldn't be running the debt that you're running. So locally, we definitely, accept those grant dollars and put them to practice and put them in the best usage. And it does not affect your taxes. Your taxes are affected through who you put in that office. So Kamala Harris would affect that tax dollar, whether I was helping women or children with a medical issue or not. And so you and I are going to be paying that large income tax, or what was the unrealized capital gains tax, whether those federal grants are getting where they're going or not.
Well, if they have an unrealized gains tax, which would collapse the entire world economy in about 2 seconds.
Agreed.
Are they going to pay us an unrealized loss check?
I've seen some of the I've seen the best and the worst policy come out of this election. The one thing that I wish I had thought of, Trump said that he would remove income tax on overtime. I think that's a fantastic idea.
Why don't they just remove it for everybody?
Well, you could say
you don't need income tax.
You could say, and not arguing against that point, but you could say that those are the hardest workers, and that would benefit small business more so than anything else.
That's right.
What a great idea if you manage the money well, right? But we're not even talking about how you manage the money, but unrealized capital gains tax says to businesses that, and they didn't ever talk about how they would ever give you a loss the next.
Who makes that decision?
Well, evidently it's just by executive.
I mean, how could she tell you whether you had an unrealized gain? You build a house for somebody and maybe they haven't paid you. It's in your inventory. It's worth $1 million. You
what
pay tax on the $1 million.
What they're saying is you're not allowed to have a savings account. You're not allowed to have wealth.
They want it all to go to them.
And you'll own nothing and be happy is the same plan. And so
they just gave themselves away in that statement, and nobody sees it.
Oh, I hope we see it, and it's just the fact that we got too many people that are staying quiet. That's why I enjoy shows like this, because you get an opportunity to speak and to say some things that we're all thinking. But everybody knows that's the dumbest thing that anybody's ever.
I think it's all about private property. They are going and telling you they are going to take it, and they are going to be happy. You're not going to have any say in it, right?
You know how we combat that, in my opinion? Strong local governments and strong sheriffs. So when you have local governments that truly are elected representatives that stay close to their constituents, they're accountable, you see them in the grocery store, you go to church with them, etc., then those people will not pass idiotic policies like that.
Well, what I'm trying to tell people, and this just occurred to me the other day when I was on an interview somewhere, but I had interviewed a girl who wanted to come to work for me, and we were just talking, and she says, well, I really like what you're doing. The fact that you had 4 people, 4 of your precinct chairs went to the AISD meetings, transformed them. Just 4 people. She said they looked at the Amplified program, they ripped a bunch of it out, they looked at the books that were in the libraries, and they yanked these books. She said it was just surreal how effective just 4 citizens showing up at the AISD school board meetings made those school board members pay attention to what they were doing. And I think what we have, that may not be so much, the city council gets a lot of activity, but your county commissioners, your school boards, people don't go. They don't know when the meetings are. They forget about it. They're busy. And if we can just get a handful of people to start showing up at the county commissioners meetings and the school board meetings and even city council, I think it transforms every county in the state. And we don't have to say a word. Just be there, listen, learn for ourselves, get the information that's unfiltered so it doesn't get blind. And I'm sure you've experienced things that have happened in the council and the media reports totally different than what really happened.
There may be a few times that I can point to that things were taken out of context, and what it looks like is not what it was.
Right.
I agree, but I want to disagree slightly. I like the fact that you're pointing to a truth. All you got to do is be willing to show up, and you got to show up. However, the truth is this: the power of life and death is in the tongue. And so you can't be resigned to just showing up. You have to be willing to stand up and speak. Yes. And so, the number one thing outside of private property that you're saying, hey, they're going after or whatever, ultimately the plan from big government is we just need you to sit down and be quiet. We just need you to stop talking. And so the power of life and death is in your tongue. And when you show up, I can tell you from sitting on the other side of the dais, when you show up and you speak, and what I love the most is I love my complainers that have solutions.
Exactly.
So your complaint needs to be registered as a complaint. And then when you're able to offer that solution, it's so helpful. Because most people that are running for office and in that position of elected representative, they truly want to help. We want to implement good policy, and we want to do things that what's difficult is when there's no answer and it's just a complaint. And then it's like, well, y'all are supposed to go fix it. Well, we are the answer. I'm not the answer, but you've got to be willing to do the work. Yeah. And then usually the money is available. I have yet to find a problem where if we just had a certain amount of money, we could fix it. Everything, the money seems to figure it out when we're willing to go and work for it. And you can't just throw money at the problem. You have to have a solution.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is initially people just need to show up. I think a lot of people are afraid to show up because they think they don't know what to say. Okay. They think they have to speak. What they have to do is be informed first.
I agreed.
Learn what's going on, and the people will come up with the solutions.
Right. But you're 100% correct. And then the expectation's different. My council chamber feels like a courtroom to people when they first walk in. It's intimidating. And it doesn't need to be. Right. When you really get to it, it's no more professional than high school.
Exactly.
It's just like being back in high school. You thought it was something way bigger than it was. This is your meeting. Those AISD meetings are your meeting if you got a student. And if you pay those taxes, our city council meetings are your meeting, and we respect that. And I don't. It doesn't matter if you show up and it's a presidential speech, or if it's just a statement. I think we still hear it.
Yeah, I think people have the misconception, that how elected officials perceive them. They want to do I think most elected officials truly want to do a good job. But you have people in the community that might be saying, criticizing them. I don't think that's effective. If those people would show up at the meeting, listen to what's going on, they then can come up with solutions or ideas and bounce them around, meet with y'all in private if they have a solution, and y'all will run with it.
Yeah, agreed. And I've had so many solutions brought to me by regular, everyday, average citizens. Yeah, a lot of it's awareness. You think your mayor, your council, or you think your superintendent or your school board knows everything that's going on. There's a lot of things we just don't know. Yeah. And then
you can't. It's too much for one person to know.
Sure. And we have a staff of 2,500 people down at the city. That's a lot of resources to come and address your problem if your elected representatives are functioning in that conduit space of engaging those citizens where they need to go. So most of what I do is just resources like, oh, yes, sir, let me work on that. Let me send you here. And then it goes to Public Works. And so you get your trash hauled. But a lot of it can just be the complaint. Did I just wanted to register the complaint, you know, and it's not something that we can work on. And I think if we avoid that as a population, we're better off. I think complain all you want, just bring those solutions to it.
Yeah. Well, that's all I'm trying to do is inform the voter, educate them about how they can be involved and be an effective citizen and be a benefit to their community.
You got to show up.
Show up, vote local, buy local, and be vocal.
I like that one. Somebody's going to put that on a bumper sticker here before long. Do I have to put Dan Rogers down at the bottom of that with a date? When you
Yeah. In a couple of 100 years, that's
it'll stick. I like it.
Yeah. Well, I always come up with my good ideas when I'm interviewing smart people.
Well, if there's one here, we'll make sure they know it. So I don't know if I'm very smart or not. Like, I should have known better than to do this to myself, right?
Well, what are some of the other things that you've accomplished? I know you got rid of the parking thing.
Oh yeah, we honestly, I've forgotten a lot of things we've done. I mean, the downtown parking thing was a pain, and it didn't ever make any money. It honestly didn't even sustain itself.
So y'all aren't going to put me in prison for my unpaid parking because I refused
wouldn't even want to know
app?
whether you have unpaid parking tickets. That's not. I'm in policy, not operation.
Well, I finally figured out that if I parked in front of the mayor's building,
ticket
or Amarillo National Bank,
Yeah.
I didn't get a ticket. But if I parked in front of another bank,
there you go.
I got a ticket. I
Well,
thought, well, that's not right.
Enforcement.
But then I figured out where to park, and I got no more tickets. But it took me a while to figure it out.
I figured out how to let you park anywhere, and we just do time parking now, and it helps all the businesses down there. And there's a few businesses that still need those spaces to turn over, and they don't want you to park in front of their business for 8 hours. However, customer parking still functions, and it's downtown. And so, yes, got rid of paid parking and helped. Sold the building downtown, the retail center. I don't believe that, a local government makes a very good developer for the most part. I think it needs to be handled privately.
Yeah.
So if we have to be a landlord, let us just be a landlord. But what they tried to do down there didn't go because there's a lot of hoops to jump through when you have the procurement that we do. And so we sold that building for what it cost us to build it, kept the parking garage. Thankful for that. Would love to see new businesses filter in there, and I think it'll help us. In the way in which we've spun up our city marshals so that we have better enforcement. Some citizens are like, why am I getting a letter on my weeds? Well, you're getting that letter because you should know you need to mow your weeds. And if you don't mow your weeds and you don't take care of your property, we do have some responsibility to the community to keep the community clean and nice and without hazards. And so we're enforcing weeds and mowing them, whether everybody's happy about it or not. We put in our roadway safety, policy. And so you can't stand in the middle of that roadway. So panhandling, I was told, well, you're trying to outlaw panhandling. Well, actually panhandling is something that I can't make illegal. So I'm not going to step across that, First Amendment right for you to ask somebody with your free speech if they'll donate to your cause. However, that doesn't allow you the right to camp with you and your kids in the middle of a 2-foot concrete median with trucks driving by at 60 miles an hour. And so we've got that in place, and that's very helpful. Now you see some of those same individuals, they stand off on the side of the road. They're able to do what they want to do. We're not trying to keep anyone from helping those that they choose to help in the community.
See, I think you should, and here's an idea for you. You should give the people that hand them money in a roadway in their vehicle, make that a crime. They're enabling bad behavior and they're impeding traffic, and they can cause harm.
There's two forms of policy. One is a negative consequence. One is a positive, positive or an encouraging action. So we are encouraging people to give in a different way. So rather than giving that person $1, would you be willing to give to our local entities that are already resourcing all of our homeless issues so very well?
Well, I think though you need to enforce the traffic laws to keep people from handing people in the intersection money. I mean, somebody's going to get hurt, and there's no need for that. And then you could encourage them, say, okay, here's a $500 fine, but if you'd like to donate it to a homeless shelter, we'll drop the fine.
Right. Well, the right role of government in that, I think that the person standing in that roadway is the responsible party. So I would,
but they're lured by the offer.
I agree. Well, no, they're advertising, they're soliciting. So there's no presence of a driver when they show up, and they do this for a living. But that being said, one thing that I'm proud of is you got a council that took action on a very political, polarizing topic that, can be abused and saying that we're trying not to help the homeless. We're doing everything we can to help our homeless population.
My question is it the role of the city government to help people who are not homeowners and citizens of their city?
That is a great question. And so I will tell you that my understanding and the way that I look at this is I have a cost on my balance sheet. So I pay a cost for certain behaviors in the community or after they happen, or I can proactively use that money to try to prevent that cost from hitting my balance sheet. And I mean this in the way of my guesstimate, my estimation is 50% of the people that you encounter in your community are able and willing to help themselves, and they truly will try if you show them a pathway forward. The other 50% may not be willing to help themselves. And so you have certain costs that are associated in the city for 100% of those people. And if we can positively impact that 50% to where they become community stakeholders and they're contributing to society, we should. And if we do nothing, we will end up paying for a certain portion of that population through other activities. You have vandalism, you have homelessness that grows out further, you have loss of business, you have loss of people that want to live in your community or bring business here because it's not as attractive. And so it is a managed item. You'll never solve it, but if you choose to do nothing, that's not my role. You, the city, will pay the price. Now, who actually has the role to help and reach the homeless? Honestly, I would say our faith-based community and our church.
Right.
However, it is my responsibility in the local governance to provide a foundation and a platform that put good policies in place so that those churches and nonprofits and faith-based can do their job.